What is going on, everybody? I'm back today to talk about a movie that was released on Shudder recently. That as soon as I read the plot description, I knew I had to check out this movie. This is a film about a 2007 emo kid living in Texas. And I was like, okay, I was a 2007 emo kid. I was into alternative, screamo, heavy metal, all of those genres when I was in high school, played a huge part of my life and who I am as a person now. And I knew I had to watch it immediately when those elements were incorporated. And the film I'm going to be telling you about today is Rats. Rats is directed by Maxwell, Nalevansky, and Carl Fry. Summer just got shorter for 19-year-old Raphael. It's 2007 at the peak, and the peak of emo culture is in full swing. Raphael just got arrested by a psychotic cop. Raphael just fell in love with a girl at community service. Raphael might get blown up by Newt. So I was really excited to watch this movie, and what I will say is it is wildly entertaining. It's a very flawed movie. There's some issues that I have, especially when it comes to the humor. It goes in a very dark, kind of like really deadpan direction, which is something I love. I'm a huge fan of Tim and Eric. I'm a huge fan of shows like Joe Pera Talks with You. I love really dark, deadpan humor. Or if you look at like Yorgos Lanthimos, Wes Anderson, Edgar Wright, I love when humor can kind of go in a darker, more deadpan direction. And this film has that in droves. I think there's some of the humor that it's like very, very specific and not all of it worked for me. But I do think there is a sincere charm to this film. And there's clearly a love that these directors had for this time period and a reason to create this. And I'm excited to tell you about it today. So the plot description covers this perfectly because the plot is absolutely wild. But we're introduced to Raphael at the beginning of the movie, who is literally graffitiing a telephone box that he has been told is a local landmark. And he ends up getting in trouble with the law, but he doesn't have to stay in jail. He gets community service. Well, the cop who's working there has it out against him. She tells him that his cousin, Mateo, is in possession of nuclear weapons, and that the only way that he is going to be able to get out of going to prison is to live with his cousin and essentially expose his illegal activity. Well, he gets there. His cousin seems to be a really great guy. They're very close, and the entirety of the film is him living at this house with his cousin, all the crazy things that happen in association with that police officer, and then him doing community service and meeting this young woman who he starts to fall in love with. Like I said, this movie is wildly entertaining and very creative, and there's a lot of things that I appreciate about it. For starters, I really enjoyed all the performances in this movie. There is a lot of ridiculous absurdity, especially the actress who plays the police officer. She was really giving it 110% in this movie, and my God, she has some scenes that I was laughing so hard I almost cried. Like, really just absolutely amazing. And I just thought all of these characters, one of the things about creating these types of like really silly, quirky worlds is giving these characters very distinct personalities. And that's what I thought this movie had in droves, is personality. And if it didn't, I don't think it would be as entertaining as it is. But man, they did a really nice job with this. And that's something that I enjoyed. All these performances are really excellent. I also loved the production design and the cinematography in this film. It had so much personality. It had that indie sort of rough around the edges feel. The best comparison that I could give it is some of Greg Araki's early work. Like, you can just feel that there's a very distinct style in like the color palettes that are chosen, just the way certain scenes are framed. It's kind of unnatural in moments, and there's some really weird editing decisions and like dialogue delivery that I think also adds to the humor of the film. And I just really love when directors can kind of strip away from conventional narrative and just be like, we're going to do something weird and authentic and uniquely us and put it on screen. And it might not work for all people, but it's going to work for some people. And the people who really like it are going to really like it. And that's what I liked about this movie, is you could tell the personality and the identity of the film came from a very wholly genuine place. I also, like I said, I was a 2007 emo kid, and within the first 10 minutes of this movie, and I Set My Friends on Fire song played, and there were two Blood Brothers songs in this movie, which I love the Blood Brothers. I think they're absolutely incredible band. Primes was one of my favorite albums when I was in high school. I listened to it over and over and over again. And these guys that created this film, clearly very familiar with the culture and the scene, and I really liked that a lot. I also loved like the character that they incorporated, who was like hip hop metal infusion, who was like a political activist. There were so many really interesting little bits and pieces and commentary on like social and political ideology that I think worked really well, especially like, you know, when you think of the emo culture in 2007, very anti-establishment, very against the grain. And I liked that a lot, that it was incorporated, and I felt like it was done in a way that was very intelligent. The movie's incredibly disjointed on purpose. I feel like it feels like a drug trip or a fever dream. You're getting like scenes. It's very much a hangout type of movie where there's like stakes that are set early on, but you have all of these little scenarios and some of them blow up. There's this one scene in particular that the police officer gets in a fight. She's a police officer, but she also works at the local diner. But she wears her police officer's uniform while she works at the diner, and she gets in a fight with this woman in the bathroom, and it was truly like the most just out of this world, ridiculous, insane scene that legitimately came out of nowhere. And I loved that so much. I love that these directors kind of threw caution to the wind and were like, let's just do this and go for it 110%. And scenes like that are why I love movies like this. I mean, you guys know me pretty well. I've talked about films on this channel that are really absurd and uncomfortable. A movie like The Greasy Strangler. I really enjoyed the film Greener Grass. I love movies that can kind of approach humor in a way that's sort of opposite of how you would see conventional comedy. And I think these directors do a really nice job with that. One of my earliest intros to comedy in high school, growing out of like, you know, when I was a kid and a teenager, and when I feel like my sense of humor now was established, were things like Tim and Eric, very much what you would consider anti-comedy, just doing really absurdist things to elicit a reaction. And this movie has that in droves, but it also has a lot of intellectual commentary that I think just adds to the humor of the film. And that's what I really appreciated. Like I said, my only real qualms with this movie, the disjointed structure didn't always work for me. And I feel like there's some humor that's incredibly specific, and that like if it lands for you, it lands for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And there were some that just didn't land for me, which made portions of the film more difficult to get through. But it was impossible not to just be sort of drawn in by the charm of it. And I can imagine watching this in a very large crowd. I watched it at home on Shudder, but I can imagine watching it in a very large crowd of people, especially a crowd of people that's vibing really heavily with it, that it would be very, very enjoyable. And I really had a fun time watching this movie. I think if you're looking for something wholly and uniquely original, Rats is definitely worth checking out. So have you seen Rats? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought. I thought this movie was wildly entertaining. I really enjoyed it, and I will probably watch it again. As always, if you can like the video and subscribe to the channel, helps me out a lot, lets me know the type of content you're looking for. I'm always putting out new material, and look forward to getting more out for you in the near future. And as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.